fabulous Suzy Brown from Fiberygoodness.com and Tiny Studio Magazine. It's been too long, Suzy, far too long.
It has, and you're up to episode 86 already. That's
I know, and
quite
that's
substantial.
Diaries, you know, that doesn't include the 57 or whatever quarantine diaries I did prior to that.
Oh, wow.
I know. Spend a lot of time
impressive.
Talking into the ether about all sorts of things fibery and wonderful. Now, I had to get Suzy back because Suzy and I have been talking with Knit August Nights, and we're going to talk about that in a little later on. But we definitely needed to get back because you have had such wonderful success with the magazine. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you must. Tiny Studio Magazine. So you're about to drop
Issue
edition
11.
11. Is it 11?
Yeah.
Where's that
Issue
gone?
11. I know, yeah, because it's quarterly, so you know it's only for a year, but you know they're pretty substantial, so it is a very busy job to fill them up with all the content that we've been lucky enough to get. So yeah, issue 11, it's going to be our first one in print, which is like a really big milestone. So excited about it. Yeah. It's something I had in my mind right from the start, was I wanted to do this.
Well, we caught up after I'd been to Marja Craft and caught up with you with the Can Cruise, which was November 2019.
Wow.
I know. And and you were sort of talking then how the big goal was to get it to print, like you really knew you wanted to go.
We were actually right on the edge of going to print just before COVID, and everything went so crazy, you know, and it was really like standing on the precipice about to go to print, and then everything shut down. And the biggest problem with this, of course, it's an international magazine, so it requires distribution globally, and that just went completely out the window. And so no one knew what was being delivered where and what the delays were, and so it's really taken this long to settle back down. It all just goes through standard post. So yeah, we had to wait a little while, and even now we've had, since we started again with it, we've had a couple of changes to the distribution costs from it's being shipped out of Germany, which is where it's being printed. So you know, a few hiccups on the way, but nothing we couldn't manage. Thank goodness. And we've got such a wonderful company that we're working with in Germany. They specialize in making sort of boutique indie magazines like this. And so they've been tremendously helpful and supportive as well, which is, you know, good to know that they're interested in heart.
Too has got a couple of really interesting features because of this printer, this company that you're using. So talk me through some of those.
Well, they introduced me to something called Swiss binding, which I'd never heard of before. You know, this is all printer talk. It's a huge learning curve for me getting into print because, you know, there's a whole nother level of stuff to learn. So a standard binding, this is our current issue 10, that I've had printed up from Blurb, which is just a print on demand service. And they do a really nice job with it. It's pricey, but you see how this is bound, so, you know, the pages don't open out flat. And if you look closely at it, I don't know if you can see.
It's a glued binding across the spine.
It's glued in. It's all glued into the spine. So over time, you know, if you're flattening this out a lot, it's going to get all creased up down the binding, and you know, pages eventually fall out. What we've got with Swiss binding, this is my sample copy. Swiss binding has a spine that is actually not attached to the inner workings of the magazine. Yeah. So this is actually the spine here, and it's covered in linen. And I discovered not only can we get black and white linen, but we can get it in so many beautiful colors. I can actually theme this to the rest of the magazine, which is kind of exciting from a geeky designery point of view. So that will be coming up. But also the spine this is all stitched. All these pages are stitched, so it sits flat. You just open it from new. It's like this. You never have to fold down the pages. And so that also, I think you can, don't know if you can see that with the light, you can sort of see the stitching in the binding. So it has lots of signatures that are all individually stitched in, which is why it has this nice lay flat feature. So it's really more than I expected we would be able to do with it as a magazine. So, and we've also got a smaller format. This is the size difference.
You know, and that's, you know what I love about that slightly smaller size though, Suzy? That's slip into your handbag size, slip into your project bag size. It's actually a really, I think Liner magazine, there's a similar, and Pom Pom is even smaller again. I love that.
It's such a nice it's a nice one to hold. It feels good in your hands. It's not big and floppy. With some of the magazines, they sort of feel a little clumsy.
Yeah.
But this is it's compact, and it's still got 120 pages in it.
Yes.
So it's got the same content. And, you know, our images still come up, you know, beautiful big images coming up through it. So, super happy with it. And, you know, I wouldn't have come to this particular binding style if it wasn't for this company that we're working with, this German company. They really do. They like to produce something that's really beautiful as a thing in itself, you know, to get this kind of full page spread where you're not losing information in the middle.
Yeah.
It's from a designer point of view, it's really nice, but also from a reader's point of view. You're not fighting with the book.
And this is just with the subscriptions as well. Because these magazines now are an investment. You know, they are. You do make an investment with them, and to actually have a really quality product like that, it does make a huge difference. I think it actually is something that you feel proud to have out and enjoy and continue to go back to. And I mean, I just look at what I have here, you know, the magazines that I've all departed with and given away at various events are all those ones stapled and what have you, and that's great, but I've got ones out there that I won't part with, and they're the ones that, you know, that's where Rowan, you know, a better quality of paper, and they just stand the test of time. That will be around. I mean, you could create a library of those, couldn't you? And,
definitely.
And
they fit so well into the bookshelf as well. You're not sort of, you know, trying to bend them over to get them fitting in the bookcase. They'll make a nice stack and a nice collection. I'm actually looking forward to that myself.
Yeah.
Getting them collected.
So just everyone is now jumping in. Apparently the notification was late. Charming. So if you've just,
I'm only on first coffee, so
if you've just joined us, I'm here obviously with the fabulous Suzy Brown from Fiberygoodness and Tiny Studio Magazine, and the magazine has just gone to print. So walk us through the subscriptions. So the digital subscriptions have been obviously going for some time. And you now have a separate print subscription as well?
Yeah. We've been running the digital subscriptions for 2 years actually. November 2018 was our first issue, so that's been going for 2 years. And along with the print, with the digital issue, you also get my monthly videos and a monthly Zoom. Now we were doing 2 monthly videos, but now we're doing a Zoom and a video. And the videos are usually like, you know, a little tutorial or a tool chat, something, you know, Fibery. I get guests every once in a while as well. So. And then we have a Zoom once a month for anyone that wants to join, a kind of a social get-together, a bit of tutorials, that kind of thing. So that's all what we're calling the digital package with that. And that's $4.95 US a month. People get a bit confused because I'm in New Zealand and I've got everything in US dollars on the website. Most of this is because most of our subscribers are actually in the US, and they find it easier.
We've got
totally should do this.
I was hoping this would happen. Suzy's like, I hope the dogs behave themselves, and I'm like, no, I want to be puppy bombed. I get puppy bombed all the time.
She heard something outside that she must protect us from, and I think it's probably the courier van driving past.
You have to move away. You can see her over your shoulder. She's adorable.
That's deep down there.
Isn't she gorgeous?
And Bean, I don't know what you're doing, Bean, but that's enough now. Come on, you can come and sit down over here. Might be the neighbour, I don't know.
But this is the good thing. Everyone here is used to puppy bombing, so it's a good thing.
Thank goodness. I didn't think we'd avoid it for very long, but never mind. Hopefully. So
anyway, back to the digital subscription.
Right. So the digital subscription is continuing on in the same way, because we do have subscribers that really just love the digital and don't want to have the hassle of paper. So that's continuing. We also have now the print subscription, which is separate. We couldn't combine it in any way that worked with our software. But that's a separate subscription, and that's $80 a year for the 4 issues. And then if you're a print subscriber, you can also get the digital package at a discount. I think it's $2.95 a month instead of $4.95 a month. So you can kind of combine them in that way. And that's about it. I mean, it's fairly straightforward. We do have back issues as digital back issues available of all the issues we've done. We won't have print back issues yet of 1 to 10 because the cost of doing that is just prohibitive. We'd need to pre-sell a whole lot. But I mean, eventually we'll get that as we build up. We can start to fund that extra cost and get them printed. We need to do a certain number at a time, to make it worthwhile. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Back to my US dollar story.
Yes.
I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but everything I do is in US dollars as well. Our subscribers, our contributors are paid. Many of them are from different countries around the world. And my team, my tiny studio team, there's now 3 of us. We've got Evanita and we've got Deborah Held is now our copy editor. So of course their pay is in US dollars, so it's all US dollars. If anyone has in New Zealand any issues with conversion, just drop me an email and I can help you do conversions and so on.
I just literally just did that now on a calculator, so because we do so much here at the mill and with Skeinz, all our international, everything that we bring in internationally is in US dollars. So if anyone wants a rough rule of thumb, if you multiply the US dollar price by 1 point, so that $80 by 1.6, that will give you roughly a New Zealand dollar price.
It's about 110.
Yeah, so I've just had a little workout. It works out, depending on where the exchange rate's sitting at the time, it'll be anywhere between around $28 and $30 and that's delivered too, isn't it?
That's with shipping.
With shipping. So it's completely it sits completely with all those other
it's shipping out of Germany as well, you see, individually. They're not just shipping over the pallet to New Zealand, because shipping out of New Zealand is really pricey. But shipping from Germany, it gives us a nice flat rate globally. So it's all included.
So for anybody, which is actually one of my jobs that I'm going to do as soon as I'm done here. So if anyone is wanting to subscribe today, will they get issue 11?
Yes, they will. Yes. Also, if they subscribe to, what's the date today? It's the 20th. Today is the last day to subscribe and go into the draw for a brand new spinning wheel.
But
it's
not
a brand new spinning
wheel.
It's a themed spinning wheel. I can show you.
Go. Oh, excellent. Oh, there it is.
Here it is here.
And you did the most fabulous video on the painting of this.
Yes, I did. It's got a mermaid on the bag.
Isn't it stunning?
Spins around. So this is actually up for grabs, and we're shipping it to any country. I'm super curious who it's going to go to. I can't wait to do the draw, honestly. I kind of, I felt like I wanted to do something special to celebrate this really big step for us, and I put a lot of my own creativity into that wheel. It's also a fantastic wheel as a Mothercraft pioneer. So
that is now, because that's on the Fiberygoodness website, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So Fibery, but the American Fibery.
Yes.
Fibery goodness.com. Correct?
.com.
Right, I'm just putting that in the notes in the comments for everybody.
Yeah.
Also, so there we go today, because that was one of my jobs today. I wanted to talk to you and get that subscription out, because I want to put this in here for people's hot little hands, because the reading room that we have here now, sort of our off the side room, is now people are getting used to it. They're really starting to enjoy it.
Oh, good.
Having content, I've been so blessed. I've had a number of people that have donated particularly old warp magazines, and lots of fibery and associated craft magazines, and I have them all here as a resource for people, and it's so nice for them. I mean, I have ones that just go through and enjoy them from a nostalgic point of view, but there is so much inspiration that can be had, even if you are just a knitter, to look at colour and texture. And I spoke to you when we were talking about Can the other day. If you're on Facebook, you have to follow Suzy's page, but get it in the group, because I'm in there. I love it, and I'm just in there because you had an art yarn challenge. I think, was it last April you had the art yarn challenge?
We've had a few. Yeah.
You've had a few.
We did a fun one with Charan as well.
It is so amazing. There was one lot of art yarn I saw the other day, and they looked like was it apples? Someone
that was probably Annie Montgomery. She did little red flowers.
Yes, red flowers.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, so Annie is like the art yarn maven.
She's brilliant.
She is so incredible. And these yarns are just works of art on their own, stand alone. But I know I look at them and I just see the desire to create a garment or an item around that yarn, and just how incredible they are, because they do create such wonderful things. And that's the sort of inspiration that I think all of us love and look for.
And that's something we've tried to do with the magazine too, is have it spread. So even though most of the people buying it are spinners, as spinners we also like to dabble in everything else, a bit of dyeing, a bit of felting. I've got weaving. Someone asked if that's a loom behind me. It is. It's a Saori loom, and I've just finished this cloth on that, and I'm about to start join a weave along to make some Outlander tartan, which I thought would be really fun. So we try and I've been doing stitching. I've been making threads. I'll show you. I've been spinning my own thread for stitching and embroidery. So I've been doing some of this. So there's stitching and embroidery in the magazine as well. So I like to have a bit of a range of things, because we can gain inspiration from a wide range of stuff, basically, and we don't necessarily want to make that thing, but it might inspire us into something else in a different technique or different method, which I think is always exciting.
Yes, because you never know where inspiration is going to strike. And I'm glad you brought that, because with Knit August Nights, so for those, Suzy is coming to Knit August Nights, and actually I should check because I haven't checked for a few days. So Suzy is doing a dye class with us, and it was so popular that we pulled it out for it helps if I go to the right website, does it not? That we put on an encore class, and I'm just going to check, because I've got a very sneaking suspicion. Yes, there is still one there. So there was a wait list for the class, and all those people got offered the second class, which is on the Thursday, which is the masterclass day. There is one space left.
Oh, cool.
To that class. So just in case there's a bun fight on who might get it, explain what you're going to be covering off on that day, just to give people an idea.
I'm really looking forward to it. Usually my dye classes are a mix of yarn and fibre, but for this one we're just doing yarn, which means that we get to focus just on different techniques for dyeing yarn. So we're going to go through all the basic fundamentals, so it's perfect for anyone that's not dyed before at all. It's no problem at all. It's actually, dyeing is just fun. It's not rocket science. You don't need to be like super accurate with measurements unless you're replicating things over and over, but most of us just want to dye for a project. So we're going to go through some of the fundamentals about dyeing with protein dyes, which is for animal fibers. And then we're going to get really hands-on and do a range of techniques for dyeing yarns. So we're going to start with solid colours, which is going to be, our solid colours will be over-dyed to get a sort of really nice rich layering of colour. We're going to do some effects. We're going to do some multicoloured skeins. We're going to do some gradient style skeins. I've got a list. It's not in my head. And we're going to do my tie-dye yarn as
That's
well,
right.
which is actually, it's a really fun one. It's the one that we start at the very beginning of the class. I might change the colors around. Usually when I do it with like the 3 primary colors, and halfway through everyone's like, are you mad? What are you making us do here? Because it looks crazy, but at the end it all kind of comes together. So I might try doing that with like 2 different color batches, and so we can see what happens when you do it with contrasting colors and what happens when you do it with sort of colors all in one range, like all blues. And so we start off with that tying up skeins. It's a little bit like shibori dyeing, where you tie off areas and then dye it. So it's really easy dyeing because we're just dipping it in a pot.
Yeah.
Nothing fancy about it. All the technique is just inputting ties on, taking ties off, but you get a really complex result at the end of it that looks like it's been, done in this really, posh way that's kind of complicated, but it's actually very simple. And that's something that's fun because we start at the beginning of the class and by the end of the class it's actually finished. So, and the steps in between. So I'm looking forward to it. And also we look at the different types of fibers and yarns and how they take the dye differently as well, which I think is really a good basic information to start with.
So Skeinz is supplying all the yarn for this class. So if you sign up, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, unless you've got something you want to bring, but we've got a mixture of machine washable. Have some merino. I think you and I talked about we're just doing some plain everyday non-treated New Zealand wool yarn. So there'll be a variety of different things that you can test and try out. So
lots of samples. It'll be fun.
It will be loads of fun, and it's all happening here at Skeinz. So we will be taking over because we've got the lovely big warehouse. Damien's in the kitchen and everything that we need. So we're going to be setting up here and bouncing backwards and forwards. So that's the third. So it's the Thursday we've got a single space for, which is Thursday the 26th, I think it is. Yes, Thursday 26th of August. So do make sure, if you want to book in for that, knitaugustnights.co.nz. If you have already registered for the event and you want to add that, when you go to your general registration, when you still click through to register, when it's there is a drop down box that says general admission. If you've already booked and paid for your registration, you don't have to do that again. So click on that the drop down arrow at general admission and drop down, you'll see one that says can extra. You just click on can extra and that will allow you to go through and just add that class to your program. If you haven't registered, and this is the thing that's going to tip you over the edge to get you along to Knit August Nights, just click general admission, click Suzy's class, and there's only actually while I'm here, there's that single class. We're doing a weaving class, an introduction to weaving as well, Suzy, with Deb at Outlaw Yarns, which will be great. There's a couple of spaces left in beads and lace, so that's knitting with knitting and adding beads using lace knitting, and a little bit with crochet for the home. So, and that's it. Everything else
be awesome.
Gone. It will be gone.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah. So it'll be really, really exciting. Now, what else did I have to ask you? Did you have some of you had the weaving sitting there? Did you have any art yarn sitting there?
I do. I have art yarns sort of all up behind me.
I can see them, in the corner
on
there.
the wall there. I do. Speaking of Annette Montgomery, I have something I'm going to make into an art yarn. I got this beautiful bat from Annette at Magic Craft Camp not that long ago. And so this is my next spinning project. It's just gorgeous. Look, it's got all the sparkle on it and lots of different fibers. And I just love the colours. I couldn't resist it. I actually bought 2 bats. I do have the other one. I split from it, but I can't remember where I put it. Over here. This is from the other bat that I bought from Annette. It's a very simple art yarn. This is just a single with some auto wrap around it, so I can. So
did you do that as a wrap spun? Did you?
I did. This is this is a core spun single. Is it core spun? I can't remember. No, I think it's just a normal single,
Yeah.
but it's a bulky spun.
Yeah.
And I got the gold thread and just let it wrap around the yarn as I was spinning it.
Yeah.
So, and this is sitting on my loom because I'm going to be weaving with it, because these singles look really nice in a weave because they just sort of bubble up in between the warp threads. So that's why I was sitting up there. But the colours in it, they get a bit washed out on the camera, I'm afraid, but the colours are really gorgeous, rich greens. And they look great with the gold around it. So that was my first spin from the other bat. And then this one I was going to do something similar and then use them together in weaving. It's my plan.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about weaving. Like the weaving along is awesome, because weaving, I think, is one of the mediums, and it's really hot again right now, particularly weaving as an art form as opposed to weaving for fabric. It's in the texture that you can achieve with those art yarns is quite incredible. Pull back up that sampling.
I've got some in here.
Yeah, because
this is some art yarn in here that's it was very bubbly and bobbly. And so when it goes into the weave, it just sort of enhances that texture.
Yes.
That's already in the yarn, which you can only get. This one here was also with textures and bobbles in it. It had more sort of space in between the bobbles than this one. This one was all bobbles. And then this one here is just a bulky. So it's still got some texture.
Yeah.
But not as much. Sections of this I did as I was weaving it. It's like 15 meters long, and as I was weaving it, I'd completely forgotten what I'd done at the start of it anyway. But I did sections thinking, this section's going to be for a bag, and this section's going to be for a book cover, and so on. So I did this section here as part of a bag. So it's quite sort of, it's a little bit random, but it has a nice texture to it that I think will actually still wear quite well. And this also helps when you're weaving a yarn that might be more likely to pill. I just sort of weave it in quite tight, and then I'm going to give it a good wash and felt it down a little bit, and it's actually going to wear very nicely. And so that's another textured coarse spun yarn through that. So I mean, there's really there's all sorts in it. Being so long, I don't even know myself. I just put in sort of sections of texture. This sort of light area here, I thought I'd make into a
wrap,
bit of fabric to use. And it's long enough to make into a wrap. I did some sections here where I just kind of wrapped the warp thread with the yarn. So it made the holes in there, and sort of I took several warp threads and wrapped them together. With the yarn around it. So that's probably going to go into a wrap that I'll wear.
And then how did you get those horizontal lines of art yarn through? I'm pointing to the screen. You can't see it.
Like this bit here?
Yeah.
That's really fun. That's literally just weaving it in. It's got little, let's see if I can show you. As you weave, you actually just bring it up.
Oh, kind of like
and weave it in. So you can see there's sort of a loop there between the bits that I wove. So you just keep bringing it up and weaving it in, and until you think you've had enough. See, there's another bit that I pulled up from there.
Yeah. So
it's not part of the warp. It's just kind of added in.
Yeah.
As I weave, and I like to have those kind of horizontal sections in it, because I think it makes a nice sort of drape as well. It just sits really well and gives a bit of different angle to the look of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is very much sewery sort of freeform weaving that I've been doing. And I started doing that when I was in the Netherlands, because I was producing more yarn than I could use, and I'm not really that much of a knitter.
Yeah.
So I thought, if I do some weaving, I can use up my yarn.
Exactly. And actually, while you were going through that piece, I just grabbed this because I had this sitting here. Because like this, now people who are knitters who can get hold of some of these art yarns, or they wonder what to do with it. Charles Gandy just dropped this on Monday. Serape. Now that is knitted. However, that you could make a serape like this using a woven fabric, because it's just two rectangles together.
Brilliant.
And And I mean, he's gone and done this as a sampler, you doing in a whole group of knitted techniques. And different, he's got everything from, it looks like, I mean, he's got different colors moving over it. I can see a Latvian braid by the look of it in there. There's mosaic, there's all sorts of textured stitching. But if you had an art yarn, like some of these colored elements are only a row or two big. So if you've only got a precious little of it, you can just add it in there to give it a bit of zing.
And that's what I figured with my, with my slightly wonky knitting skills. I can actually use this yarn to make that texture and interest without having to do fancy stitches with knitting. So I often put in a row or two into a shawl, that kind of thing, and it just adds another dimension to it that I couldn't do with following a stitch pattern.
Yeah, I think fantastic. So just a reminder for everybody, Fiberygoodness.com is, I've gone and put that in the notes, in the comments. I'll make sure I put it in the notes. That is where you can enter last day today to go in the draw for that spinning wheel if you want a print subscription, correct? Excellent. And knitaugustnights.co.nz is where you need to go if you want to snap up that very last class with Suzy. So make sure there's one last spot there in her fundamentals of hand dyeing. So and as we said, we're all just going to do yarn. So that is really, really fantastic. Lynn Walsh has just popped up and she said serape is traditionally a woven fabric. Exactly. Yeah, and so it is. There is so much that you can do. It's just very inspiring. See, every time I talk to you, it gets me itching to get my wheel out again, and I haven't had it out in the longest time.
Well, look, see, I've also got this, since Lynn's here, I should show you this, because this is some of Lynn's fibre. I'm spinning this at the moment. Where are we? Spinning this, and this is the fibre. Look at these colours in here. It's just beautiful, sort of rich jewel tones. And I'm spinning this up on my little daedalus wheel because it's just perfect. It's super fine. I mean, it's super fine. I'm going to probably get a friend to knit it for me because I think it needs to be, it needs to be lace, and that's not my forte. But I just love spinning it. It's my relaxation spin. But again, I don't get as much time to do all this as you're probably the same, Marie. So if you've got all these things, these creative things bubbling around in your head, and I tend to make lists now so I can, not forget them, and when I have time, then I can start working through my. Lynn wants to know, is that gemstones? This is the one you dyed up for me recently. Yes, I think it is.
Lynn is my absolute favourite fibre dyer as well. So
yes, it's just got all these beautiful. It's all the jewel tones, Lynn. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it was gemstone. It's got lots of silk in it. Oh, I know. I'm a sucker for silk.
In fact, the last thing I spun was of Lynn's, and it was the merino silk. And nice. I've got a skein sitting at home, and actually I was digging around on the, next to my knitting chair, and the skein's actually sitting in there. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, I really do need to do something with it. But you're right. Like, I'm working currently on my. I've managed to get 2 really good days in on a complex errand that I'm doing that I've got to get finished next week, and so I'm getting that time in, and it's hard because we've got all this. That what I have is that we get all these fabulous new yarns and dropping things on the floor.
You're surrounded by temptation.
I know, and it's hard. And then I think, oh, I really want to cast that on, and I want to do this, but then I need samples for the shop, and I'm ruined by not enough hours in the day.
And the risk is having a dozen things cast on and nothing finished.
And I'm one of these people that I'm not very good having too many projects.
Same.
I like to be quite monogamous, I have to say. I think once I start getting over 3, I get really twitchy. Like brutally on, I have two on the go at the moment. When I say 2 on the go, one is the one I'm working on right now. The other is a design sort of. It's actually a design that would suit art yarns really well, and it's one of my round to it designs to in a blue mood and eventually get written up. And I'm just knitting a 3rd sample in it using a whole bunch of double-stranded crazy yarns. And a colour story that I've had from my collection, and I'm about 2/3 of the way through it, and it will sit in a basket, and then when I get in between projects, but I just am not in the mindset to cast on something new, and I just want to pick something up and knit. It will get a little bit of love, and then it will get put back again. And I usually have a project like that, which often is just a scrappy crochet blanket, if I'm truth be told. But that is it at the minute. But so I don't even have a blanket on the go. And but I knit a lot of swatches, you see. So sometimes in between, I spend a lot of time swatching. And you'd probably be the same too. Like you'd be playing around with the hackle or doing all sorts of different things.
I have so many swatched samples at the moment. I'm thinking about just stitching them all together and making something out of them, because it's nice to have a stack of beautiful swatches. But they were all samples, color samples of how the colors are going to look in the design. And I mean, they can only sit there for so long, and they need to be used up. So and I have lots of small yarn samples as well, like 20-30 meters of this, from sample videos I've done or from workshops, and those are going into my weaving now. So it's my best use for those.
Oh, absolutely. All right, well, it has been an utter pleasure to catch up with you. And do remember, everybody, if you want to get that print subscription, do it today so you can go in the draw for that wheel. And you know what? If you win that wheel and you don't know how to work it, the Creative Fibre Network is incredible. If you win a wheel and you do not know how to spin, there is some everywhere. There is somebody that will be able to help you. We have lots of great spinners around, and
awesome spinners. It's another rabbit hole. Spinning, once you start, you can't stop. It's a wonderful activity. It really is.
Spinning for me is it's like yoga. It's very, I
relaxing.
Find super relaxing. Love it. Well, thank you to Suzy. Thank you to everybody. I'm going to catch up with you guys again on Monday, and it will be all about Woolfeast. I'm going to let you know what's going on with my trip to Woolfeast. Are you coming up to Auckland at all to have a look around?
I'm not sure yet. I have to look at my schedule. I keep missing it though, so I'd really like to get to it this year.
It's utterly fit. Margaret and her team at Creative Fibre Auckland do such an incredible job with that event.
It's just grown and grown every year.
Oh, it has. And the new venue is outstanding. I love it. I'm biased, of course, because I've got accommodation just 2 minutes down the road. So I love the new venue. But it's wonderful because it's at the QMU Showgrounds. So for those that don't know, it's at the QMU Showgrounds. So you literally just take the Northwestern Motorway and keep going until you get to QMU, and then it's just literally right there off the village. It's easy to find. There's oodles of parking. It's 4 lovely big sheds that they had. We're in shed 4, which I think is actually the first shed when you get to the event. And it is just, I mean, make a day of it. Honestly, if you're in commuting distance, I think it is. There we go. Lynn's saying she's in shed 4 as well. Brilliant. It's 10 till 4. Correct me if I'm wrong, Lynn. 10 till 4. Not this Saturday, next Saturday. So honestly, if you're commutable, do make a day of it and come up. It is well worth the trip. They'll have some food there, but there's wonderful cafes and things in at the QMU and Huapai villages, or Riverhead. There's a great pub up at Riverhead, which is all just right there. It's fabulous. So hopefully, fingers crossed, we'll see you.
Yes, I'll do my best to get there this year. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you again on Monday. Take care. Fibery, Fibery, goodness.com for Suzy. And until then, have a great weekend. See you later.